So we had discussed about the one transform, that is Fourier, which I had discussed that Fourier is used to just extract some frequency component from the signal. So, and we have seen that we can apply Fourier transform or we can use Fourier series only for a signal which is kind of convergent, signal is going to converge. So, if you consider a continuous time signal, this is x of t, and if you have consider about discrete signal, x of n. So, Fourier is a mathematical tool which is used to extract some frequency information from x of t or x of n. So, all the transform which are available, these are nothing but a strong mathematical tools which are used to extract some meaningful information from the signal. So, we have discussed about the Fourier, then we have to start about the another transform, that is your Z transform, normally been used to analyze discrete time signals and systems. Then the question is that if we have a Fourier with you, then why to apply or why to use Z transform? Okay, so we have seen that we cannot apply Fourier for any sort of signals. We can apply Fourier for a signal which is going to be a finite or is going to be converge. So, if the signal is not going to converge, we cannot use Fourier to analyze that particular signal or the systems. Okay, and that is why we have with the transform, that is your Z transform. For continuous time signal we have Laplace, for discrete time signal we have Z transform. Okay, so we will see about how this Z transform is used. So, if x of n is a discrete signal for which Fourier can't be used because it is not going to be convergent. For example, if I use a signal like this is not going to converge. Okay, to specify that this particular signal is going to converge, what we do? We apply some factor r raised to power minus n, which ensures that even if my x of n is not going to converge, but if I multiply this with r raised to power minus n, what is this r raised to power minus n? We will see about this. It ensures that this particular factor is going to converge, and as this is going to converge, we can apply, and this is what is called as your Z transform. So, what is this Z transform? So, this is Fourier transform does not converge for all sequence, okay, and Z transform is for good analysis, and the thing is that power of complex variable theory which can be used, can be analyzed, can be simplified using Z transform, using simple mathematical algebraic equations. This is what the Z transform is. So, the signals for which Fourier can't be applied, but we can use Z transform by having some additional constraint, additional factor there, and this additional factor ensures that even if x of n is not going to converge, but this is going to converge. And this is again the thing is that is nothing but that. So, this r raised to power minus 1 of this factor, this is not true for all values of r. This is true for some specific values of r, and that specific values of r is now called as region of convergence. So, where x of n is going to be converged. So, this r is now called as the region. So, this specifies my ROC with some constraint. So, that particular constraint is nothing but your ROC. So, this is where very important phenomena, very important concept related to your Z transform. So, even if x of n is not converged, x of n r raised to power minus n is going to converge for specific values of r. It is not going to true for any values of r also, and that constraint is called as your region of convergence. So, we can define Z transform only in that region, in that region only. So, this is what is called as your region of convergence. So, this is why the Z transform is that even if you have a Fourier, so Z transform will enlarge or broaden the classes of signals that can be analyzed. We have a constraint with Fourier, so that constraint is overcome with some constraint, and that constraint is nothing but your region of convergence. Okay. So, this is what already we had discussed about the formula for that. X of z is defined with respect to your Fourier. So, now for this particular lecture I will just concentrate about what is the advantage of ROC and how this ROC is related to your some properties of your system as well, and some properties of with the signal as well. So already we has been there. So Z transform is derived from your Fourier transform. This is having some relationship with that particular Z transform. So we have x of n specifically for discrete signals and systems. That has to be remembered. Z transform is used for discrete signals and systems only. So we have this x of n. So that is why I already specify x of n is not going to converge. So we just replace this x of n with x of n r raised to power minus n. So we just have some rearrangement for that, and then we will go for this r e raised to power j omega. If you just arrange the terms, we will get r e raised to power j omega, and this is now the new variable which you call as variable z. This is nothing, this is your complex variable. We have the two factors r and j omega. So we have seen how this z variable is defined. So this is, so with, this is important. Okay, so with this particular constraint, we can broaden the ranges of or classes of signals or system that can be analyzed by using Z transform. So this is the importance of ROC. So with ROC only we can define or we can discuss the Z transform. So this is what it ensures. It is going to converge. This is very important concept. So this is what the concept of ROC. So the given a sequence, the set of values of Z for which the Z transform converges. Okay, this is called as your region of convergence, ROC, and ROC is defined around a Z plane. Z plane is a complex plane defined with the real axis and the imaginary axis, and it is defined as a circle with a radius. This is r is nothing but radius. So within that area only, even if x of n is not going to converge, but within this area x of n r is to power minus n ensures to converge, and that is why you have to calculate Z transform. You have to look into your signal in that region only. So this is nothing but your ROC. So this is what the meaning of this ROC and how we define the ROC for your signal. So this is what we have specified, and there is a special relationship between your ROC and the Z transform. So this is the special case. If you define the Z plane like this, we have a real axis and the imaginary axis and the r. So in the basic definition of your Fourier transform, x of n raised to power minus n already we have defined. R is defined as this particular factor, okay, and if you take a special case for r equals to 1, that is nothing but your Fourier transform. This is the equation for your Fourier transform. So we can say that for if you evaluate Z transform on this particular contour of radius equals to 1, that is called as your unit circle. That is called as a unit circle. Then Z transform is nothing but your discrete time Fourier transform. Again, a special case where we can calculate Fourier transform. If you calculate it on the unit circle, nothing but your, so this is the relation between your DTFT and Z transform. Okay, so unit circle is a kind of contour where we can define your Z transform. So this is already we have discussed here how we define this. So this is the relationship between your Z plane and the Fourier transform. So we are defining, so the complex plane phenomena defined there. So yes, before we, so that is a kind of a very Z transform we can define, we can do in detail, but I will just try to highlight some specific concept terminology used for the Z transform. So normally Z transform is defined as a ratio of two polynomial when we go for the system analysis. Okay, so this is the polynomial in Z inverse. This is a convenient way to represent input output relationship of your system, and normally Z transform for system characteristics we are using, we have to define in the differential form. Whenever Z transform is used for system analysis, then we will have to define input output relationship of your system in the differential form, and we have to apply Z transform so that the differential equation is being converted into some algebraic equation. Okay, so that is what the main advantage of Z transform to analyze your LTI systems. So this is just we can define, if you define Z transform as a ratio of two polynomial, so this is what the equation is. So this is, and then yes, there are two terminology important, it been specified. The values of Z, if you have defined Z transform as the ratio of two variables, the polynomial ratio of the polynomial, then the zeros, the values of Z's such that x of Z is 0 is called as zeros, and the values of Q of Z, this is called as your poles. So these are the concept used with that particular polynomial. So just to with this particular thing, so there are some properties of ROCs, region of convergence. So to discuss the property, it is better to take some examples. With some examples, we can understand what are the properties of region of convergence. Very that is the important concept related to your Z transform. If you understand ROC, then we can understand the Z transform advantage. So we will just start with a specific kind of signals. We will just take a signal a raised to power n u of n. What type of signal is this? Is a causal sequence or a right sided sequence. Okay. So deliberately I have taken this example, a raised to power n u of n is a right sided sequence because this is u of n is associated with this u of n defined only for 0 greater than n greater than 0. So this is how this is bound, your signal is right sided signal. Okay. So if you apply, if you want to go for the Z transform equation, this is the equation for your Z transform. Now due to this u of n, I can just n is from 0 to infinity, because that is what x of n is a raised to power this is what standard summation a by z raised to power n. Now here we have to look for to decide your ROC. Okay, whenever you define the Z transform, we have to just look in this particular equation to decide your ROC. So which factor, what you decide that this particular summation, what we are required, summation is always going to be less than infinity, is going to be converge. Okay, so what about this a by z, when it will converge? When z greater than a, what is the condition that this summation is going to converge or finite value? Only the condition is that j should be greater than a, and this is nothing but your ROC. So we have to look for the summation, okay, and we have to find out what is the condition which ensures us that this summation is going to converge, and the condition for this is if z mod of z is greater than or z is greater than equal to greater than a. That is nothing but your definition of region where we ensures that Z transform is going to converge. Okay, so this is the what is for this. So ROC for this particular example is Z minus A. Okay, and whenever we have this particular Z transform, we will have to locate the location of poles and zeros. Okay, so we identify what is location of zero, what is meant by pole and the zero. So the Z divided by Z minus A, this is the Z transform of this particular signal. So there are one pole at Z equals to A, pole is indicated by cross, 0 is indicated by this 0. So there is one 0 and one pole located at these two locations. And how we define the ROC? What is the ROC condition? Z greater than A. So all the region above this, or this is circle with radius A, this is your ROC. So we cannot define your Z transform within this region. If you defined it, it is going to be unbounded signal, not going to summable. So we have to define your Z transform in this region only. So this is about a type of a signal. So just remember what type of ROC we are specifying here. ROC is outside the circle of radius A, outermost pole. Okay, and what type of signal is? This is right sided or causal sequence. Okay. So it is bounded by the pole and it is exterior to the circle. So we will take example and just remember what is the Z transform we are getting is Z divided by Z minus A. Okay, so we are taken intentionally one more signal, that is left sided sequence. Okay, left sided sequence. This is what non-causal sequence which you have considered, and if you find out the Z transform of this particular signal also, we have to just apply the same formula there. We have to do the arrangement for summation, so that will be standard form. So we will find that x of Z for this particular signal is going to be again the same, Z divided by Z minus A. This is what we got for this, and for that also we will got Z by Z minus A. For both the signals we have this particular Z transform, but if you try to find out, no, u of minus n minus 1, that specifies
u of n minus only, and you have folded that signal.
Folded a signal, yes, that is folded a signal, yes. So we indicating that is a left sided sequence. That is indicate only that is going to be a left sided sequence. That is why the use of always u of n is act as your kind of what we can say, specify the unit which specifies the signal is going to be right sided or signal is going to be a left sided one. Okay, that is why we can just take this u of n like this. So if you try to solve, if you go and find out, so this factor in that particular case, this factor will going to be Z by A. If you solve that, we find that we will get the factor like this, Z by A in case of left sided sequence. So we will get again 1 pole 1 0, okay, and what we have specified here that, so in this case this sum is going to converge for Z less than A. So this is interior of your circle of radius A. Okay, so this is what the ROC is bounded by the pole and it is the interior of a circle. Okay, so what we are indicating here that we have taken two different types of signal. One was your causal sequence or the right sided sequence. Second is left sided sequence. For both the sequence we find that we got the same Z transform. So what distinguishes these two? ROC. So in case of Z transform, even in case of inverse Z transform, ROC plays an important role. Okay, if I give you the signal like this, Z divided by Z minus A, x of Z, if I ask find out the inverse Z transform of this particular signal without mentioning ROC, then one may end up with right sided sequence, one may end up with left sided sequence. Okay, that is why the importance is ROC must be associated with your inverse Z transform. Okay, otherwise we cannot end up with the unique solution. Okay, so without ROC we cannot find out inverse Z transform. This is what the condition. So just remember what type of ROC we are getting here. Then we have taken deliberately one example of two sided sequence, left sided and the right sided. Okay, so this is what, if you solve this with some kind of partial fraction expansion technique, we have to solve it easily. We find that there are how many poles and zeros are there. Okay, so there are 2 poles and 2 zeros. If you just solve, this is derivative we have taken is a signal which is two sided. Okay, so we find this one. So for that, so we will have to take independently for which factor this sum is going to converge and for which factor this sum is going to converge. Okay, so we find that this should be greater than 1 by 3 and this is less than 1 by 2. So what type of ROC we are getting? This is a kind of ring. Okay, it's kind of ring between these two poles. So this is what the ROC specifies for the two sided sequence. Okay, so this is bounded by poles and is always going to be a ring. So we have taken 3 examples. Okay, and we have seen what type of ROCs are associated with these type of signals. And one thing is that obviously pole can't be a part of ROC. Okay, if pole be a part of ROC, what will happen? If pole is a part of ROC, if Z equals to A, if this is become a part of ROC, infinite, sum is going to infinite, it is not going to converge. So pole can't be a part of ROC. For that particular pole, your summation is going to infinite, it is not going to converge. So this is one more property, that pole can't be a part of your ROC. or it cannot be include any pole. Okay, this is for what type of signals we have considered. We have considered signals which are infinite length. All are infinite length. We are not defined for what type of, for what values of n, x of n is defined or declared. So, we will consider quickly take examples which are finite length sequence. Okay, so if I take finite length sequence, let us take 1, 2, 3, 4. This is finite length. Okay, have length is finite, and if I apply Z transform with this simple equation, what is this? It will get at all n's are positives, na? N equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So, what will get? 1 plus 2 this is what we will get as a Z transform. Okay. So, now how we find out? So, what about the ROC for such kind of your signals? What is ROC for such kind of your signals? Okay. So, if I take 2 by Z, 3 by Z and 4 by Z cube, okay. If Z is tending to 0, what happen? This goes to be infinite, infinite is going to infinite. If Z tends to infinity, it will be going to be 0. But if I take Z equal to infinity, it tends to infinite. So, this summation is not going to converge for what value? Z equal to 0. So, what is ROC? Entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. So, the finite length right sided sequence ROC is entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. If you put Z equal to 0, it is not going to be infinite and sum is not going to converge. Okay, this is one example for right sided sequence. If you take one example for left sided sequence, if I take same left sided 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, this is the symbol is that this is the sample at n equal to 0. So, what is this? 1 z raised to power 3 plus z raised to power 2, 3 raised to power z plus 4. This is, as this is n is negative, we will get positive power of z, right, for z transform. So, what about the ROC for this signal? So, this will going to converge all values of z except z equal to infinity, except z equal to infinity. So, what about ROC? Entire z plane except z equals to infinity. So, for a kind of finite length sequence, we can just conclude that for left sided or right sided entire z plane except 0 and infinity. So, this is about the sequence each are finite length sequence. Okay. So, this is what concluding we can just specify here that if you have a signal which is a causal, or we can say that right sided sequence entire z, so this is finite length, entire z plane except z equal to 0. If you have a left sided sequence which is a finite length, we will get entire z plane except z equal to infinity. Two sided finite length sequence entire z plane except z0 and infinity and converging. Yeah, that is why I am specifying all the z, entire z plane except z equal to infinity. Z is there, z0 is there, is included sir, is included. And for finite, infinite length, right sided sequence, this is exterior to the lightermost pole. For a non-causal left sided sequence, this is interior to the circle, and two sided is always going to be a ring. So, these are the different properties of your ROC, 7 different properties of your ROC related to your different types of your signals. Okay. So, this is what we can specify the ROC. So, already we are talk about this. Okay. Always, so the same thing which you are talk about. So, this is about the concept of region of convergence and what are the properties related to that. It is always better to teach this along with some examples. So, we can understand ki how this particular sum or signal is going to converge, and what about how we define the ROC with respect to Z plane. This is about the ROC, and shortly I will just go to one concept of causality and stability with respect to Z transform when we go for analyzing LTI systems, discrete time LTI systems. So, if you have a LTI systems, if you have a LTI system, if you give x of n, okay, h of n is the impulse response of your LTI system, and if you are analyzing in the time domain, it is x of n convolved with y of n, okay. This is what we can, sorry, x of n convolved with h of n, and then this is what nothing but your y of n. This is your time domain. So, what is the use, what is the advantage of Z transform? This is just the, instead of having convolution, we will have the simple multiplication in the Z domain, okay. So, this is what we have specified. So, y of z, Z transform of the output is Z transform of the input and the Z transform of the impulse response, okay. So, here we have this, if I take y of z divided by x of z, this is your h of z, and this is called as the transfer function of your system. Y of z divided by x of z, this is first, this is the terminology used. This h of z is called as your transfer function of your LTI system, okay. So, h of z, Z transform of your impulse response, okay. If I know the h of z, okay, I can find out impulse response of your system in time domain. How we can do that? If I find it out, I can just take the inverse of h of z. Always easy to deal with your multiplication than convolution. Always easy to handle convolution in time domain than to handle multiplication in z domain. So, what we will do, we will just take the z transform, handle it in this z domain. Once we have this y of z, take the inverse of that. So, y of z means this is here h of z, just inverse of that I will get h of n, okay, impulse response of your system. So, that is one more advantage of Z transform. All the transforms, complex that equations in this time domain is what converted into simple algebraic equations, okay. So, this is applicable for Z as well. So, this is about what we have specified. So, this is h of z is your transfer function of your LTI system. So, this is one important concept which you have to consider about the Z transform. So, if I want to find out, so how we end up with the signal h of n if you know h of z, okay. So, if you know h of z, that is the transfer function of your LTI system, you need to find out h of n, okay. So, we need to find out h of n, that is your inverse Z transform, and I only talk about finding out inverse Z transform is little bit, in that case only we require ROC is very important, okay. So, just take some examples for that. So, what type of h of n, whether we will end up with right sided h of n or we end up with left sided h of n or we end up with the two sided sequence h of n, because here we have ROC plays an important role, okay, and that is associated, again that is even associated with some concept of causality and stability. Very again important for LTI system characterization, okay, using Z transform, concept of causality, stability and location of poles, and using that how we can end up with or how we can find out h of n, that is impulse response of your system. In this case, if just we will take example, simple example, simple concept. If I know that we have a pole, in this case we are in Z domain, from Z we have to go for h of n, right, time domain. So, as we are in Z domain, you must be knowing about location of your poles, right. So, just say that we have pole, this is one circle of radius r. So, we just assume that we have a one pole which is inside the circle of radius r, pole which is the inside the circle. So, what type of signal it could be h of n, we have considered only one. So, this is causal or non-causal, or it is left sided, na? This is left sided sequence, this is going to be left sided sequence, something like this, Okay, so we'll have to end up with h of n. While finding out h of n, we should not end up with a raised to power n u of n. We have to end up with minus a raised to power n minus u of minus n minus 1, because this pole is inside the circle of radius r. So this is going to be a non-causal. Okay, if I specify the pole is outside the circle, then it has to be a sequence which is going to be a right sided causal. Okay, right sided causal sequence. So this is about the what the signal is, and if this is not, is anything lightermost pole, right, that is outermost pole, whatever the specified the outermost pole, whatever is specified is r.
R is the
Outermost pole, that we have specified here, na. So wherever we have located the poles, we have to find out what is the location of outermost pole there. So this is about, no, this is what the specification of this particular signal is. If we have a pole inside this, okay,
outermost pole, sir.
yes,
Inside this R is outermost pole.
this is the radius of r,
R is outermost pole.
radius of the particular circle, this is outermost pole, and we can take this r as a 1, we can just specify here, okay, unit circle, and if you take this is 2 or this is, let us say, minus 1 by 2. So we have taken the reference is always going to be a radius equals to 1, that is your reference. With respect to that r equals to 1, we have to find out. So whenever we find out ROC, this is going to be a outermost pole, location of your outermost pole. So if the signal is causal, if I specify signal is causal, if the pole is outside, then this is going to be a right sided sequence. But now if I specify that signal is causal and pole is inside the circle, okay, and what is known to you, only the characteristics of your system is causal. System is causal. So system is causal, then it has to be right sided. So right sided. So for this particular case, the signal is going to be like this. This is causal but non-stable, unbounded one. Why you end up with this? Because we know the characteristics of your system is causal. System is causal, pole is inside the circle. So either it will end up with this or it will end up with this type of your signal, because we are stuck with this property. Okay, if we go for the property, if you know that system is stable, we have a stability, then if you have a this r equals to 1, okay, and if the location of poles is same. Now what we have to think about? We have to think about property of stability. Okay, if this system is stable inside the unit circle, then it has to be a kind of right sided sequence. Now if the pole is outside this unit circle, then now we will have to think about the property of stability. If I consider sequence is like this, then it is not going to be stable. So this particular pole has to contribute what? Sort of left sided increasing, left sided increasing, yes,
Inside pole will get right side.
right side increasing, yes, both type of signal, opposite side from this, okay, in between that, okay. So ROC, so what the conclusion for this? For a system to be stable and causal, it must be inside the unit circle. Pole, sorry,
Inside ROC.
no, that is not the things. Location of poles, unit circle must be a part of ROC. All so causal and stable system, pole lie inside the circle. Okay, if the system is stable, it can't be causal. If system is causal, it can't be stable if poles are outside the circle. So for a system to be stable and causal, all poles must lie inside the circle,
Is it not causal?
not causal.
This system is not causal.
Which one?
This system, which has two poles.
So what I discussed the thing is that, sir, if the pole is inside this,
For this system, you have taken two poles.
for all the system I have taken 2 poles.
I am talking about this system.
If this
There are
is,
two poles.
yeah,
This system is causal or not?
depending on, yeah, no, I am taking up independently. So depending on that, if there are 2 poles,
Can
we have
be
to,
causal and stable?
no.
It can't be causal.
If it is outside the circuit, it can't be stable and causal.
For this system.
No, this is not going to be. If this is the case,
This is the case.
this is not going to be causal and stable at one time.
This system can't be causal and stable.
Because this one pole is outside the circle. So for the system to be stable and causal, all pole must lie inside the circle. If I consider this particular system with 2 poles, as one of the pole is outside, is not going to be a stable system. Okay. So this is what the important property, okay, for system and stability and causality. So this is what the use of Z transform. So now we are in the era of digital systems or digital discrete domain or digital systems. So always, so continuous evolution remains relevant with the advancement in the digital technology. So Z transform has to be utilized, has to be used for analyzing your discrete time systems. Okay, so this the convenience of which is what the always the kind of, so there are multiple applications where we can use this particular Z transform to analyze your LTI systems. Okay, so this is what you can see.
Okay, so last 2 lecture sessions are remaining for tomorrow, and we will cover sampling as per model 3. And if you want to discuss more question like Suketu did, you can ask on group also. We haven't planned that. And apart from that, we will have the discussion analysis from the assignment which was done today and last week. And finally, I will take around 30 minutes of your time with the simulation and the project part with this subject. Like it will involve both Python as well as GNU Radio.